Well, turning now to the latest on the transportation funding dilemma in Oregon and the special session called by Governor Kotek, bringing lawmakers back to Salem late next month. The goal to fill ODOT's $354 million budget gap over the next 2 years, avoiding hundreds of layoffs, while also providing transportation dollars to counties and cities across the state that were counting on them. Today, the governor unveiled the framework for the bill that lawmakers are expected to hash out on August 29th, a sort of middle ground between the multi-billion-dollar bill that failed last month and the Band-Aid bill that died in the session's final hours.
So on the revenue side, to pay the bills, the proposal at this point is proposing a 6 cents gas tax, an increase in the gas tax by 6 cents. Also including some increases in registration and title fees, another $42 on registration fees, supplemental fees for electric vehicles at $30, and title fee increases of $139.
The bill itself is still being drafted, but the governor said the gas tax hike would take effect on January 1st. It's not clear if that's the case for the other fee hikes. The governor says those revenue levers by themselves will fill ODOT's budget gap, maintain service levels, and avoid layoffs.
The 6 cents will also allow us to continue the split that goes to local government, so they can also meet their current transportation needs. So that would maintain the 50-30-20 split.
That's the general way revenue from things like the state gas tax is split up. 50% to ODOT, 30% to counties, 20% to cities. That formula was not included in that Band-Aid bill that failed at the end of the session, raising alarm bells here in Portland. At the time, Mayor Keith Wilson said PBOT would have to eliminate 60 positions if state money wasn't coming in. With this proposed framework, if it passes, it sounds like some of that would flow to the city. In a statement to us today, the mayor's office applauded the governor's decision to call a special session, but did not provide any additional details about potential layoffs within the bureau. But back to the new framework. The increased taxes for all Oregonians would not stop at the gas pump and the DMV.
This package would increase the payroll tax for transit from 0.1% to 0.2%. to fund our struggling transit districts across the state, particularly our transit districts in rural parts of the state. They are facing a financial cliff. This isn't everything they need for future sustainability, but this will get them through to continue to maintain their services.
So yes, doubling the transit payroll tax that comes out of your paycheck. The original transportation bill would have tripled that tax to 0.3%. The governor says the framework also includes many of the ODOT accountability measures that we saw during the session, including regular audits of the agency and giving the governor the power to hire and fire the ODOT director. That power currently rests with the Oregon Transportation Commission. Now, for those of you who drive electric vehicles, listen up. The pay-per-mile plan that lawmakers call the road user charge is also in this framework and would begin in the summer of 2027.
There was bipartisan interest in continuing to make progress on the road user charge. And so what you will see in the bill is a commitment to implementing into the future the road user charge for existing electric vehicles, new electric vehicles, and hybrids and plug-ins. And that will go into effect in the next biennium, but there is bipartisan interest in doing that, and that is an important part for future funding of our transportation system. So we need to get started, so you see language on that in the bill.
And of course, we can't talk about transportation without talking about tolling. One of the major snags during the legislative session was Senate Democrat Mark Meek, who represents much of Clackamas County, openly opposing the Democratic-led plan. He was even removed from a committee to help the doomed bill overcome an early hurdle, but he's adamantly against tolling in his district, where ODOT's tolling plan was set to begin before being thrown out. He recently said one of his requests to the governor was to repeal tolling language. Well, the governor obliged and was asked if Senator Meek was the main reason she pulled that language.
There will be language in the bill to repeal ORS 383.150, which established mandatory tolling on projects in House Bill 2017 from the 2017 session. So we'll be taking those out. We are on a pause across the system on tolling outside of the interstate bridge. And I want to make that very clear. And this was an issue that had come up from other legislators, not just Senator Meek, about the lack of clarity at the end of session, which is why I had to write a letter. Now we have an opportunity with a new bill to really make that clear. And I know that is something that Senator Meek is supportive of, as other members, particularly in Clackamas County, are. So I think it's the right thing to do. It provides that clarity, and I do think that's important for Senator Meek.
Okay, the final price tag for this framework has not yet been released, but it's clear that the tax and fee hikes will cover ODOT's $354 million budget gap and give some money to cities, counties, and transit. So the total is at least higher than $354 million. But we could talk about this until we're blue in the face. The governor was asked perhaps the most important question this morning. Does she have the votes in the legislature to actually pass this?
I believe the proposal as I provided has the support to be successful on August 29th.
So we will see, but we did want to address a viewer question that came in last night following our interview with Republican Christine Drazen. Joyce wrote to us saying, what is the Democrats' answer to Drazen's suggestion of using the emergency fund? Okay, basically Drazen argues that this special session is not needed and ODOT could fill its budget gap with funds from statewide emergency reserves without raising taxes. The governor was asked that very question this morning. Listen.
Well, I think there's two reasons for the approach that I'm supporting, is that this is traditionally how we have paid for transportation services like operations and maintenance, as well as transit districts and local government needs, through these type of user fees and a modest payroll tax. That's how we do things here in the state. It has worked. We want to stick to that traditional approach. With regard to the Republican proposals, particularly as voiced by Representative Drazen, by Leader Drazen, I think you have to ask her, well, what would she be cutting by taking that money? The general fund dollars that she is referring to are being reserved for things like wildfire suppression, caseloads in the Oregon Health Authority and Department of Human Services that we're anticipating. We are going to have general fund budget challenges, not only potentially because of a revenue forecast downturn, but because of the federal budget cuts. I think it would be imprudent for us to take those dollars for transportation when we have a predictable, traditional way to fund it.